And we are live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to BWTM Sports on New Year's Eve. I have with us a man who's been in many a fight, experienced, is very popular fighter, none other than Carson Jones. Carson, how are we doing? I'm okay, champ. I'm okay. So how have you been?
Good. Just enjoying the holidays with my family and getting ready for the new year. I have a bout on February. First fight is on this Saturday, January 6th, and then I have a following fight the next month, February 3rd. So it's pretty busy coming on so far.
Fight coming up in January, the first week of January. Wow, why is that?
Well, this was already scheduled and I had already signed for it. So I'm gonna go ahead and follow through with it. But then, as soon as the fight's over, I'm gonna leave for training camp and get right back to camp for the February 3rd fight in England.
So talk to us about this opponent you've got in January.
He's a good fighter. He was actually my very first. He was my chief sparring partner for the first Carol Brook fight. His name is Abel Perry. Boxer. But this fight was already in the making before we got the call for the Cheeseman fight, and I had already signed for it, so it really was no way for me to pull out of it. We were already signed the fight before the Margarito fight was made, and I had already pulled out once, and I didn't want to do the promoter wrong. I didn't want to pull out and mess up another show, so I'm going through with it, and we're gonna just take care of him and then go handle business in England.
So can you give us an update of what happened with the Margarito situation?
Nothing really. They just, other than the obvious, they just screwed me and just swept it under the rug. I have a loss on my record now from that fight, obviously, but everybody saw what happened, and there's really nothing I can do about it at this point.
What are your thoughts on, I said this before, but I'll say Dan Rafael and a few other American writers had Margarito up in the fight at the end of, coming to the end of that round. He was up on the scorecards and was handily in front, according to one reporter, one well-known reporter. I won't even bother mentioning his name. And had you way down on the scorecards?
That's absurd. I really don't know what fight they were watching. Especially Dan Rafael, I can't believe he would have it. He's usually more knowledgeable. I usually have him right on most of his. I usually side with most of his views and his opinions, but I just can't believe he would say that. But either way, I mean, the decision was a decision. I thought I won. Most people thought I won. He quit on the stool. I mean, how can you quit on the stool and still get a W? So I mean, the proof is in the pudding. It's not. Regardless of who they have up on the scorecards, he still quit on the stool. So I still should have came out with the victory.
Absolutely. It's the state of boxing today. How a person can quit on their stool and then still come out of the corner with a smile on their face and hands raised and win a fight.
Yeah, well, it's pretty shameful, but I can't do anything about it. Hopefully, maybe something will come of it, later after these next fights that I have. But I would think that I would get something a lot bigger and a lot more meaningful after these next ones.
Okay.
Shall see though.
So you got this fight against Perry. How do you ensure that it's not a sparring session that we're going to be looking at in January?
Well, there's no way to ensure that. I would suppose. Let's be. I mean, we'll be clear. He hasn't had the best success in recent years, but I never look over at any opponent, no matter who it is. It could be you, for that matter, and I would still train for you as if I was fighting Floyd Mayweather. So we got to be in shape. We got to be ready, and I just plan on doing the business on January 6th, regardless of what you may think this fight is about.
It's very important that you do win this fight, win it well, win impressively, and you're not struggling, because obviously the Cheeseman fight's around the corner. You can't afford to get cut or injured in this fight either.
Yes, of course, yeah.
So
that would be devastating, and it could ruin everything. That's why, like I said, I never overlook anybody. I'm taking this fight serious.
things that often is overlooked in a fighter's career is this progression. We talk about your training camps, we talk about, you know, what you've been doing to improve. But from your professional career as you started to now, can you tell me the differences, whether it be in body structure, physical strength, footwork, defense, ability to judge, ability to counterpunch? Where do you think Carson Jones has improved as a fighter? We've just seen Caleb Truex cause a huge sensation and shock James DeGale and become the IBF champion when he was completely. What, in your mind, as an experienced fighter, do you think you've improved on now?
A lot of it is just being comfortable and relaxing. I mean, a lot of these guys are so uptight. They don't. I mean, a lot might not show, but they have a lot of. There's the it factor that they have. I'm not sure. They're missing something mentally. It's all mental. A lot of it's mental, and I'm just so relaxed. I mean, it's just like breathing for me. I'm obviously if I'm not relaxed by now, I have like 50, 55, 57 fights. If I'm not relaxed and comfortable in there by now, you know, something to be wrong. But I'm just super relaxed, and I just take my time. You know, that's why 10-round fights, 12-round fights are that's my ball game. I take my time in there. I'm not rushing. It's kind of like a relationship. I'm not gonna rush because when you rush it, you know, it might not go as the plan. Whether if you take your time, you know, everything works out for the better. So I just think comfortability and you know, just being relaxed is one of the biggest things. Getting older, getting wiser. Also, I'm not. If you look at the beginning of my career, I was more so a boxer, boxer and mover. That's probably one thing that I don't like as much. I used to box more, but I guess at this stage, I'm just walking everybody down. That's actually works for my benefit. You know, I take a little bit more punishment, but you know, it's good for the fans, and you know, it keeps getting me more shots over there. Like I said, in England, and you know, everywhere else, because people like my style. So it all works in my favor, I suppose.
You would have thought Eddie would have learned his lesson with the Ben Hall situation. Why have they decided to pick you to fight Cheeseman now?
I'm not really sure. But you know, all I can do is be thankful and knock another one of these young boys off their game.
What do you see in Ted Cheeseman?
Honestly, I haven't even watched much of him. I glanced at him real quick and saw he was kind of like he's just another young buck. He's actually I watched a little bit more of him the other day. He's not that bad of a fighter actually, but he never has somebody to push him like I push people. And we'll just have to see on his end if he can hold up to my pressure and you know, to my knowledge and skill.
In terms of training camp, are you with Abel Sanchez for these next two fights, or what's going on there?
There's some issues, not really issues. It's on my side, but I don't think. I think for this next one, I'm going to train elsewhere, and then after this Ted Cheeseman fight, we'll get something lined up, and then I'll probably go back to Big Bear. Okay,
so issues, are they things you can talk about or things you can't talk about?
There's not issues. I mean, there's just it's on my part. I mean, the budget right now is it's not fitting to go to Big Bear. So
okay,
we'll handle that after this Ted Cheeseman fight, and then I'll probably go back.
I can see that. Mid-year. Been always wanting to ask you this question. In terms of durability in a fighter, we know that you're very durable. When you're about to face a guy that you know is a noted puncher, you know, I see some guys banging their chin a lot, or I see fighters, they're rubbing their chins all the time, you know, stroking their chins more often than not in press conferences and stuff like that. As a fighter, and as an experienced fighter, what goes through your mind when you're fighting a big puncher? Do you think, oh, I've got a good chin, I can take a good shot, not a problem? Or do you still question your own chin?
I never question my own chin. That goes back into the mental factor. I have no doubt that I have one of the best chins in the business. I don't care who I'm fighting. Even if you're a big puncher, I still go in there. I'm gonna fight the same way. If I get caught, I will. I get caught. Most of the time I don't get hurt. And if I do, that's just my. I'll recover. So I take every fight the same. I look at it as going there fighting Floyd Mayweather, big puncher or not. I'm still gonna go out there and do my business.
2017. If you're going to look back at 2017, we know the Margherita fight is disgusting. If you look back in your career for 2017, what are your thoughts about you personally for your career?
I would have just probably stayed in shape all year, and this is the same story with me every time. I always would have stayed in better shape, just consistently through the whole year. And I probably could have, because I think that was I only had one fight last year, and it was because I was in training camp for another fight, and it fell through like the week of. But anyway, I would have just stayed in shape consistently, and I could have probably, stayed a little bit busier last year or this year.
Okay.
But next year is a new year, and we got 2 fights lined up. Hopefully, God, it would be beautiful if I could fight 4 times this year. That would be 2018. That would be amazing.
Are you just happy just keep the clock ticking and the money coming in, or are you really still looking at a potential world title fight?
I say this, time is catching up with me. But if I can pick up a world title shot in the process of trying to prepare for my future outside of boxing, that would be great.
Now, how do you think Eddie Hearn perceives you? Do you think he sees you as a guy that, well, if you can beat Carson Jones, you're the real McCoy, or you should be beating Carson Jones? How do you think Eddie perceives you?
I'm honestly not serious. I'm not sure, but that's not really my concern, to be honest. As long as he keeps calling me over there, I can make some money and stay busy. That's all that matters. It's a business relationship, so obviously he wants his guy to win. But if when I win, it gives him another opportunity to bring me over there and put me against in a bigger fight.
When you're fighting abroad, particularly in the UK, what are you aware you need to do when you get to the UK differently to when you fight in America?
It's not just in America. It's not just in UK. It's anywhere. I need to make sure I get the early rounds in the bag. That way I don't get robbed.
Okay. What about until things? I understand, but for people listening in, things like you come to the UK, the time zones, when you come in to fight, when you fought in Mexico, the climate, all those sort of things, sleeping patterns. What does Carson Jones do if he knows he's fighting in the UK, for example? How does it work?
Well, usually we go over there. We leave here, the U.S. on a Sunday, usually early, and just get over there. It usually takes me 3 or 4 days to get acclimated to the time change. But that's the big part. Nothing really camp wise. There's anything to do differently because people like. I think people just look too deep into it and they take it too seriously. A fight's a fight. You're gonna be ready. You're gonna be either you're ready or not, no matter what time it is. But we go over there a week early just for the press and just to get acclimated a little bit. But other than that, nothing else needs to be done.
You're an experienced fighter. But you're an experienced fighter. That's why you're talking that way. But obviously, for young fighters, one of the tricks that promoters do use is that they bring him in the week of the fight. I was surprised at Caleb Trix, how he looked so calm and was able to box James DeGale with the time zones. But he said, look, the times that DeGale was fighting, he was training, so it wasn't a big problem. So for yourself, when you come to the UK, you said already, you come in a week before the fight. Some promoters like to get the fighter in a few days before the fight, so the whole jet lag kicks in and all the rest of it.
Yeah, we we always request, and actually Eddie always he's the one who always the very first fight I had over there, I was kind of questioning like when should we go over there, but you know Sunday a week is enough time for me. I'm there fighting. A little lack of sleep is not gonna bother me.
So time zone's not a problem for you then?
No, not at all. Plus I've been over there. I can't even remember how many times I've been over there now, but you know that's not really a big deal. 1 or 2 days, 3 days, I'll be good. And yeah.
Now, can Carson Jones be bought?
What do you mean?
Well, you know, I'll pay you a little bit more money if you, you know, don't win the fight, don't try as hard.
Nah, I think anybody can be bought, but it's just a matter. Technically we're all being bought because we're not fighting for free. No, if you're asking, will I take a fall or throw a fight? No, I wouldn't do that.
You would, and would you come if you were getting paid more money to take a fight? Okay, can you come in on 5 days' notice to fight in the UK to fight one of our guys? Would you do that?
If I was already in shape, of course.
But if you weren't, would you do it just for the money?
You want an honest answer or just some bullshit answer?
Give me, you know, I want an honest answer, Carson.
My career, and I was like on some Roy Jones level type shit and with no money and you know needed some fights, and they paid me like you know $500,000 or something, and it was like just nothing. I haven't fought in 2-3 years. Yeah, you're damn right I would. I think anybody would, any fighter, because at that level, fighters are just they're hoping and praying for just an opportunity. You know, so I mean, you got if you're at that point, you kind of gotta take it any way you can get it.
So basically, you're saying if you're on some Roy Jones shit, mainly you're 46 or 47, you should have retired by now. Then yeah, you understand that. But for your career, no way, it's not happening.
And even then, I wouldn't take a fall. I just might not be in as good of a shape. I wouldn't ever throw a fight though. But I mean, I would take a fight on short notice and just hope for the best. If I was at that point in my career, I'm 31 years old though, so you know I don't have to do that.
Now, when you beat Ben Hall, what was the conversation between yourself and the promoter after you beat Ben Hall, who was a touted prospect at the time?
He just pretty much told me, yeah, you came in some great shape this time. It wasn't too much exchange. Matter of fact, me and Eddie were walking out at the same time, and he was just like, no, you came in some really good shape this time. You came in ready, and that was pretty much it.
That's all. That was it. He obviously was disappointed.
I mean, he asked me what I thought he should do. He should do with him, but I mean, at that point, but I'm not really sure their relationship and you know whatever words were exchanged between me and Eddie. I guess it's between me and Eddie. But for the most part, he just said good job and you came in shape and we'll figure out something else. I honestly thought after that was going to be Sam Eggington, but that didn't come through. So now we're fighting Ted Cheeseman.
What do you make of your old rival Kell Brook fighting at light middleweight? Will he be as effective?
He could be more effective. He was having trouble making 47. He was already a big 147 pounder. So I mean, it could be better. It could be a lot better for him. He might be stronger. Now, only thing I say is if his eyes don't hold up, he needs to. If either one of his eyes break again, he needs to call it quits. Because I mean, he shouldn't need money, and at that point, it's like either you risk your vision and your health for your kids, or you just keep fighting and being, not being so smart.
You're a good stablemate, Golovkin, as you know. Any news on him fighting Canelo for 2018?
I haven't heard anything. But I haven't spoken much to anybody. Usually when I'm in camp, I'm not in camp. There's not many conversations that go between us. You know, we just stablemates and whatnot. But I've been reading online. But it's probably going to be a possible date.
What do you think of the fight being in Mexico? Would you advise your stablemate to avoid Mexico? Or do you think he should fight in Mexico?
Well, I don't think they'll fight in Mexico. There's no way. I highly doubt it.
It's been talked about a while being in Mexico. You know.
Yeah, I just can't. There's no way I can see that. I just can't see it.
Why is that?
There's the politics of this game for one. That would be. I mean, I'm not saying it would be stupid for our team. Abel and Tom. I just don't think Tom would do that. I think Vegas would probably be where it's at again. And it'll probably that's where the money is. I mean, why go to Mexico? Just because Canelo is Mexican. I just don't think. I think the money would be still in Vegas, even though it is a Cinco de Mayo weekend. I think the place to be is Vegas.
Okay, fair enough. So let's take a look back at 2017 in terms of fights. What was the fight that you were most interested in?
Say it one more time.
The fight you were most interested in, and the fight you were most disappointed in.
In 2017, are you talking about other fighters or me?
Other fighters, 2017.
Golovkin. Well, the one I was most interested in and most disappointed in was obviously my fight with Margarito, but the one that I was most interested in was Golovkin and Canelo. And disappointment, I really can't think because I really didn't watch much boxing this year. It seems like.
Okay.
I'd say a letdown would probably have to be one. What's his name? Gervonta Davis. Didn't he look like crap his last fight?
Yep.
Yeah, I think that was a big disappointment. But other than that, like I said, the most interesting and most disappointing was my fight with Margarito.
Okay, I understand that. Tell us who you think is gonna, apart from yourself, who else do you think will have a great year in 2018?
Who will have a great year in 2018? I think Errol Spence is gonna have an amazing year. He seems to be the real deal. He proved that to us in his fight with Kell Brook, and I'm actually looking forward to seeing his progression.
Okay. So how do you think he does against? Go ahead.
Also, Anthony Joshua. I'm starting to I've become a big fan of his too. He's taking heavyweights too. He's keeping heavyweights out there, and I think he's a really big force to deal with in the heavyweight division. I do think when it happens, he'll probably knock Wilder out.
You're backing Joshua to knock Wilder out?
Yeah, I think so. Just because Wilder's American and just the UK and Mexican, UK and American rivalry. It's not about that. It's just about who I think win that fight. And I think Joshua has all the tools to do it.
Why? Could you give us a deeper breakdown as to why you believe that Joshua?
I think that he's more of a complete fighter. Wilder is super. People think he has a good jab, of course. He has good power, but he's a heavyweight. So what heavyweight doesn't have power? It's rare not to have power in the heavyweight division. But I think he's super wild, and he just throws all these crazy punches. I don't think that's gonna work against a fighter like Wilder. He's fairly. I mean, a fighter like Joshua, he's pretty complete in my eyes.
Okay.
And he's a big, tall, heavyweight. So we'll see.
What are your thoughts on Keith Thurman, the return of Keith Thurman in 2018, the welterweight division, the unified champion? How do you think he does in 2018? He's got Vargas first up.
Yeah, he's fighting my boy. He's fighting my boy, so I mean, he gotta get past my boy first. I would have to say, I gotta go for my boy. But I think what I'm looking forward to, obviously, he should probably beat Jesse, but depending on what happens next, if they're gonna jump right into the Errol Spence, are they gonna jump into the Errol Spence fight, or they're gonna milk it a little bit more? But I think that's the one fight everybody wants to see, and I think honestly, to me, that's a 50-50 fight, just because Thurman is a really good. He's a really good boxer, but he's a really good puncher too. But so is Spence. So I think that's the fight. That's the real fight in the welterweight division everybody wants to see.
If you could get one fight, forget about the ranking system. If you could get one fight in the welterweight division, who would it be?
Active.
Yes, active.
Active. Whoever will pay me the most money.
Well, it's up to you. It's up to you. You're the fighter.
Pacquiao, maybe Danny Garcia.
Pacquiao, Danny Garcia.
Yeah.
Interesting. What about Jeff?
It'll be,
what about Jeff Horn? What about you? What about you and Jeff Horn? That'd be an interesting fight.
Oh yeah, of course. But we tried to get that fight a long time ago, and they turned it down. So I mean, that'd be nice. But they, like I said, the last time we were talking about it, they turned it down.
Jeff Horn looks incredibly beatable. I mean, that fight he had against Gary Cochran was terrible.
Yeah, I didn't even see it. I heard about it, though. I didn't even know he was fighting, to be honest. That was like unless I'm just out of touch with the boxing world, but I had no clue he was fighting. I didn't know anything about it until the result was out. But I heard I think I seen some pictures with his face all messed up and stuff, so, maybe later on down the line we can get that if I can get back to 47. I would have to definitely go to Big Bear and train for that, though.
Another mate of yours, Amir Khan. He's been in the jungle. Did you know?
I don't know what Amir Khan
is. Yeah, he was in the jungle. Now he's out the jungle, I believe, and he's talking about 147. I know you talked about Amir Khan before. Is that still on your radar?
Of course, yeah. That'll be a big money fight. That'll be a big seller in England. And honestly, I don't think too many people would be completely against me on that one. There's a lot of people that don't like Amir Khan in the UK, and I think I could possibly, I'm not gonna say be a favorite to win the fight, but I'll be a favorite as far as the fans go.
When you look at your career and you look at your resume, would you say that you were a boxer puncher? Would you say that you had reasonable punching power? Would you say you got a high knockout ratio? What would you say in terms of that for yourself?
I don't know, my knockout ratio is pretty good, I think, but it's not just my power. I have good power. It's not just my power, though. It's my punch output, and I just continue to keep coming and putting that pressure and beating on you. So, I mean, I wouldn't say it's just one thing. It's a cumulative punches that I land, and I don't just pinpoint one area. I'm gonna hit your arm, hit your body. If I can hit you in the balls, I'll do it. I'm just kidding. But I'm hitting everywhere. It's not just gonna be one spot. And that's what these young fighters don't realize. You can hit the shoulders for 8 rounds. Matter of fact, I showed this in one fight that I had over with Ben Hall. I was beating on his arms. What happened at the end? His arms gave out. So, that's just the experience, and that's honestly what Able teach. That's what we learn in training camp. Able teaches us that. So, I mean.
So tell us now. I know you talk about you. Let's go back to the situation with your trainer. I know. So who will you have as your trainer now to train you to prepare you for your next fight and the fight against Cheeseman?
I'm training here right now locally for this next fight. Obviously, I'm probably gonna go to either Houston or go back to Minnesota after this fight. And I'll have if I go to Houston, I'll train with Bobby Benton. I'm just trying to work details out right now because I've trained with Bobby Benton before. He's one of my old coaches.
Right. So I mean,
that's.
Go ahead.
Oh,
okay, so it's me then. So I was going to say to you that it's almost like there's a game called Fight Night where you can actually. Have you ever played Fight Night on Xbox or PS2 or PS3?
Yeah.
Yeah,
of course.
You know where you play the game and you can, when you start your career, you can only get like budget trainer, and then you move up the career and as you start making more money, you can buy the 5-star trainer, and obviously the 5-star trainer allows you to punch harder and move better and all that stuff. It's not like that in real boxing. Like you know, you have a budget trainer because of finances, and then when you've got a big fight coming up, then you can get that big fight trainer. Does it work like that, or is that unrealistic?
Yeah, sort of like that. But as of right now, I mean, there was really no reason to even to go to say for this fight right here, in Oklahoma City. I don't need Big Bear to go into this fight. It's not that really big of a fight, and like I said, the pay ain't even the budget's not there. It was just kind of more like a stay busy type of deal. Stuff for me to stay busy, and because I didn't have anything coming up. Well, then as soon as I signed this for this fight, a week later we got the Cheeseman fight. So stuff just works out that way. But in order for me to be 100% focused and 100% ready, I have to get out of Oklahoma.
So the Cheeseman fight, is there a budget there for the Cheeseman fight for Abel Sanchez to come in or not?
I can train anywhere I want there's a decent budget for the Cheeseman fight, but there's other issues at hand, but that's between me and whoever else.
Yeah, I get that. I understand. All right, so let's talk about other fights and other fighters. Let's talk about prospects of the year. Have you seen anybody in boxing that you've been impressed by?
I don't know. I'm kind of liking I don't know his name. He's super young. Like he's one of the Golden Boy prospects. He has like videos online where he was like super duper fast when he was like 15 and all that. I can't think of his name, but him. Who else am I liking? I don't know. I just really haven't been watching much boxing lately. So
different to ask you. Okay, what were your thoughts on Rigondeaux and Lomachenko?
Oh boy, I already quit. Yeah, I already quit, and that's not the type of fighter that I like though. But Lomachenko he's a different breed. He's something special. Like I said, those type of fighters are born every blue moon.
When you're in a tough fight, you're in a tough position, and there's a possibility or there's the idea that in the mind to quit, and you don't quit and you go through that. Why is it that you will continue to fight and not quit on the stool, for example? What is it that makes you fight through that?
Shit, I have way too much pride there. I'd rather go out on I'd rather them carry me out on my stretcher than to quit. It's too much pride. Quitter. What's that fighter? Eubank Senior said it best. I believe what he said. You don't have that right to quit. You owe it to yourself and you owe it to the fans to keep going. And I think because calling yourself a fighter, you just don't quit. There's no way in hell I would ever quit.
So wait, your previous rival, Kell Brook.
Hold on 1 second. I'm sorry. Hello.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm doing an interview right now. You gonna come by here now? Yeah. Just text me when you're here and I'll come out. All right. Hello.
Hi, I forgot what I was saying to you. Yeah, hello.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead. So I was just saying to you, what was I saying to you? I forgot exactly what I was saying to you. Totally forgot what I was asking you.
I have no idea.
Yeah, okay. Well, Ryan Garcia, somebody please remind me of what I was asking. Ryan Garcia is the gentleman that Mikey was listening and said that's the guy that you're talking about, Ryan Garcia.
The youngster that has like videos and stuff.
Yeah, that's it. Yes.
Yeah, he's pretty impressive to me. I don't know how many fights he has. I've only seen a few videos, but he was looking pretty good and promising.
Now, Kell Brook, thank you for the reminder, by the way. Kell Brook, the guy that you fought twice. Would you consider him a quitter, or would you consider him somebody who's trying to protect his eyes?
Anybody can say anything. The way I was looking at it, he was quitting, but you know, in hindsight is always 2020. I think it was his 2 times that or his last fight in particular, he already knew he had experienced that before, so he knew something was wrong, and he knew that he needed to get out of here, or it could be some serious damage. That's what I saw. I can't say he's a quitter. He did quit, but it was for good reason. So maybe if I would have been there, I wouldn't have quit, but then I might have been blind. So.
Interesting. Carson, just before we end, what are your plans for 2018? Obviously, is Perry and Cheeseman. Give a message to Cheeseman before we finish.
I hope you're ready, mate. I'm coming with the fire.
And just to remind everybody, when that your fight against Perry, is that going to be on any TV, or is that just a?
No, it's not on TV. It's just a local deal. I might do live. I might not. Who knows?
So, and the actual the fight against Cheeseman, we know it's going to be on Sky. So yeah. So what's the date for those people who want to know about the fight?
Well, the Abel Perry fight is January 6th, and the Ted Cheeseman fight is on February 3rd. And I'm not sure. It's in the UK, but I'm not sure which part of the UK. So,
okay.
I'm glad to be coming back to my adopted home.
Carson, as always, have I forgotten anything before we finish?
I don't think so. It's all good.
Carson Jones, as always, thank you so much for talking to BWTM Sports.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you later.
Take care, champ. All the best. So there we have it. Carson Jones talking to us about 2017, his plans for 2018, being brutally honest about a few things, which is great. Stay with us. We'll be back on BWTM. And hopefully, if I can, Mr. Boxing Today, I would love to have Mr. Boxing Today with me to do a review of 2017. So if you're available, my man, I would love to have you in the room for BWTM 2017. I'll speak to you soon.